Hi everyone, this is Alex Kirby at the PHCC Library. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips for how to evaluate websites that you might want to use for a paper. So one of the first things to ask yourself about any website is who owns this website? Are they a trustworthy organization or are they someone I've never heard of? So I found this website here, Medical Alert Foundation, that claims to have evidence about heart health, which I had never heard of. And after doing some search and finding some information about them, I actually found that they seem to be unassociated with major medical institutions, and they seem to make their money by selling memberships to themselves. So I question how authentic they are. They seem to be just trying to make money by selling memberships. So this would be an example of an organization that runs a website that we probably wouldn't want to trust. Now, if we compare that to Harvard Health Publishing. So Harvard has one of the most prestigious medical schools in the country. We've all heard of Harvard University, and they actually have a great website with tons of free information available online. So if you're looking for sources, colleges have tons of great research information available online. So when you look at your search results, look for colleges like Harvard. Another thing to ask yourself is, for an article that you find online, who wrote that article? Why should I listen to them? Do they have a background in this subject? Do they have degrees in this subject area? We'll generally want to look for those kinds of things. We want to look for sources from people that really know what they're talking about when we use them for a paper. So I found this article, which was actually from Scientific American, and it's about a woman named, or by a woman named Heidi Ledford. So I was wondering, well, why should I listen to what she has to say about cholesterol? So I actually Googled and searched her name. And after some looking, I found out that she has a PhD in biology and a bachelor's degree in biology. So she's the kind of person that I think you could probably trust her opinion on medical science pretty well. So if you're not sure about an author, if they don't list their credentials or their experience, just search their name and you can usually find some information out about them. Another thing to take in mind is the biases of the different sources that you're going to look at. Most places will have a bias of some kind, and just because someone has a bias, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily not telling the truth. There's certainly biased sources that can actually have really good information, but you need to take into account biases when you evaluate any source, but especially websites. So say if I was looking at something about car safety and I was looking into car safety for a research paper, obviously Ford is one of the biggest car manufacturers in the United States, and you could go to their website and they would have information about safety features in their cars. But, Ford is trying to sell cars and to make money, so you necessarily can't take everything they have to say at face value. So you might look at some other sites as well, and we find this one, I think it was from NPR.com, and they actually found an example of that the Ford Escape got some ratings of poor in certain crash tests. If you actually read the article, they only got a poor rating in one very specific small area of the test, but still it's the kind of thing you want to look at. So when you evaluate sources, try to think about any potential biases that might be involved. And if you have to, look for other sources that may not have those same kinds of biases. The web address can also tell you a lot about a website. So .gov addresses are made by the US government, and there's a lot of really great government websites that have good information, especially on health. .edu websites are made by education, like you can see in this example where PennHighlands.edu, and a lot of colleges publish free research online with great information. Most websites will be .coms. .com stands for commercial. And you can find good commercial websites, but just do remember that commercial generally means they're trying to sell you something. So keep that in mind as you look online. .org websites, a lot of people think .org means a website is more trustworthy, but anyone can get a .org website that wants one. It stands for organization, but it doesn't really mean anything in regards to the quality of a website. A .org website can be good or bad. You really have to look at the information. Another important thing to ask yourself is the website up to date? So remember, especially in the sciences, information changes and goes out of date very quickly. We can see this article about heart attack risk is from 2010, so it's 10 years old at this point. That's pretty old in terms of medical information, but we're constantly learning new things. So always look for the date when information is published when you're researching for a paper. If you keep looking, though, you shouldn't have a hard time finding newer information. Here we find this article about blood pressure and heart disease, and this is from February 2020, so it's brand new. So always pay attention to how up-to-date the information is. If you use dated information for your paper, you could end up losing points by actually publishing misinformation. All right, now let's quickly review everything we talked about. Number one, who owns the website? Are they a trustworthy organization? Is there reason to believe they know what they're talking about? And two, who wrote the article? Do they have a background in this subject? Do they have degrees or years of experience in it? Why should I trust their opinion? You might need to search their name or do a little digging to find out why you should trust them for an article. What are the biases of a certain source? If you're researching a certain company or a certain person, websites that those companies or people own are going to say generally positive things about them. It's not to say that you can't use a source just because it might have a bias, but you just need to be aware of those biases and take those into account whenever you're reading from different sources. So try to think about biases as you're looking at sources online, especially for certain topics. What is the address of the website? Is it a .org, a .com, a .edu, or a .government website? Remember, certain web addresses are more trustworthy than others. And is the website up to date? Remember, newer information is generally better, especially in topics dealing with the sciences like health. But for any topic, generally newer sources are going to have more reliable or up-to-date information. You could end up writing a paper that's actually incorrect if you use old sources. Well, that sums up our best guide for how to evaluate websites. If you still have questions about this topic, feel free to contact the PHCC library.